Well, Mr. Chairman, I have given this some thought. And although the COVID numbers are dropping here in Massachusetts and people are very carefully social distancing and wearing masks, the meeting is going to be inside. So, I mean, people coming inside for the meeting are doing so at some risk. I'm not saying it's a tremendous amount of risk, but it's some risk. And so rather than having people, myself included, having to come in twice at some risk, I think we should, try to make sure we have a quorum the first time, and so I'm in agreement with Mr. DeVault that it should be 20. And of course, we hope 200 show up. And we should set up the hall, for many more than 20, but I think 20 is the number to ensure that we get town meeting up and running and the town set for next fiscal year.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, sure. Not to pile on, but we waited, I think, 45 minutes or an hour last year to try and get to 200, and that was pre-pandemic. So it's irresponsible to make people sit in that room for any longer than they have to. To people at home who might think that we're trying to railroad through any kind of things. This is just to get the meeting started. 500 people can come, 1,000 people can come. We hope everybody comes because, frankly, not being able to get 200 is a sad reflection on the town. So 20 is just to get the doors open, to get things started. I encourage everyone to come wearing a mask, practicing social distancing, staying safe, and getting our business done as quickly as possible.
John?
Mr. Conley, I make a motion, we go over to 20.
Just before we make the motion, we're doing this in collaboration with the town moderator. He has a perspective that is very important to how we operate.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. I completely agree. These are very unusual circumstances. I think the lower the quorum, the more people will show up. I certainly believe that. So I certainly go along with the 20 and hope that I think we'll easily get 75, 80, maybe even 100 people there anyway, even with the quorum 20. So I'm in agreement.
John?
It's fine.
You want to make that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we lower it to 20.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just that I'm quite frankly not in favor of like a lot of, I don't want to see 200 people show up. So unless people are really passionate about one of the articles on the warrant, I mean, I'd be happy if we only had the 25 or 30 people there. I don't want to have a lot of people in the meeting. So my reasons for requesting that the quorum be low is just to keep numbers down. That's all.
We will be having this same conversation later on tonight regarding the article to permanently change the quorum. But I'm supportive of lowering it. I'm supportive of both that article and this conversation. And I've always been of the opinion that if we eliminated the quorum, we would stimulate a lot more people showing up out of concern for what could happen if nobody showed up. So I'm hoping in this particular case, next Monday night, that doesn't happen, that people who are legitimate, and there's nothing about this decision that we're making tonight that prohibits anyone from coming. If they're comfortable coming and they want to participate, we need them here as active participants in our process. So is there any other discussion on that motion?
No.
So being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Ngano. And
Do you want me to hang around till the discussion on the article?
if you're comfortable staying
I'm
here,
going to take part in that little conversation.
you're going to be running town meetings for a while, and that's an important part of how it happens. So we'd be very interested in actually, if nobody objects, I'll take discussion. We can take discussion on that article now, because we never. The warrant says to reduce or eliminate the existing quorum. That's what the proposal is. And I think we all have different points of view about whether it should be set at a number or eliminated entirely. The bottom line is, no matter what we do tonight, at town meeting, when that article comes up, someone can make a motion to amend it to put it back to 200 or reduce it to 0 or nothing we do here tonight is final. It's the voters that'll decide at town meeting what it's going to be. Personally, I would like to use this town meeting as a learning curve, but eliminate the quorum to put it at 0. I do believe that in normal circumstances and normal conditions, a significant number of people will come just out of concern that crazy things could happen if only 10 people show up. I think it will actually help maintain a decent number of people in our regular town meetings. And even if that's what we do here tonight and town meeting agrees with us, at subsequent town meetings, is if ever anything ever happened that people were unhappy with, they can change the quorum. So that's my perspective on it. What's everyone else's?
Mr. Chair, I agree with you in theory, but I'd be more comfortable having just a lower quorum, something between 50 and 100.
Anybody else?
Well, I agree with you.
John?
I'm still developing up my opinion on this one.
Okay.
I see, I've heard from a lot of people who are worried about lowering the quorum, but I also see the potential value in putting the pressure on people to actually show up. So that's one I'm still sorting out, with all due respect.
Terry, do you have an opinion?
You know, I've always believed in a low quorum or no quorum, and you know, let's be honest, nobody wants this town run by 20 people, 20 voters. It's a dangerous thing or whatever, but that's why you come. You know, let's be honest, in the past there were special interest groups that you know, push, you know, call out the troops, so to speak, and they load the meeting and they get what they need or get what they want. If it's a 0 quorum or something very, very small, like 50, as Ed said, something like that, you know, the people will come. Some out of curiosity, some to protect their own interests, and I don't see anything wrong with keeping it either nothing at all, or maybe at the most, maybe 50. I mean, I've studied my history, local history, and we all know now how tough it is to get a quorum. But I mean, in the past, it was even worse. They would try 3, 4, 5 times to get a quorum, to get town's business done. And wouldn't it be nice to say, the meeting is going to be tonight at 7 o'clock, and whoever shows, we're going to run the business of this town, and we have to keep things going.
I couldn't have said it better. I agree with that sentiment. There's 9,000 plus registered voters in this community, and we struggled to get 200 to come. So 8,800 voters voted. They deferred to whoever cares enough to show up. I do believe that if we eliminate the quorum, other than this situation we have this year, I think we'll have no trouble getting 200 people showing up, just out of concern that a small group could take over and do something.
It'll give them motivation.
Right, it motivates people to come. So
Lancaster has none, right? They have 0.
most of the towns around us, I believe, don't have quorums. I'm not sure of that.
0.
I would entertain a motion to set it at a number or reduce it to 0.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we set it at 0.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I'll support Jig on the article on the warrant.
Just a discussion question, Mike or Selectman Conley, you may know. For the last number of years that we've had town meetings, I don't know, say 10 or 15, have we ever been under, in your memory, have we ever been under 100 people at town meeting?
In terms of
Participants, people showing up to the meeting.
yeah, I think as Mr. O'Donnell indicated, years ago we would have to postpone because we wouldn't have the quorum. But we have to have at least 200 to start town meeting. So we would we would probably have to wait a bit, but we've always been, the last number of years, been able to get quorum, so.
And it's probably tough, because I don't know if anyone counted, all we knew is that we didn't have, well, they would have counted, but I'm just curious if,
I believe,
I'm going to go on a limb and say there's probably been at least 100 people here for every town meeting, probably 150.
I believe that in the last 7 years, there have been at least 100 here.
Okay.
At least in the last 9 years.
But one of the problems, yeah, I would agree with that.
There's been 100.
But we've struggled to get the people here to reach the quorum, and the other problem is that people come here, a group of people always shows up for one specific article or one specific interest, and they sometimes, if it's not early in the meeting, they ask to move it ahead. And once action's been taken on that, what is perceived by them as their important article, they leave, and then enough of them leave that we don't have a quorum in the room, and then we're in jeopardy of every article going forward from that, of somebody challenging the quorum, and that ends the meeting. So, well, yeah, okay, I might have done that once or twice in my career, but I don't think it's it's in the town's best interest for that to happen. So that's why tonight I'm supporting a zero quorum. If voters want to change that to 50, I would support that at town meeting. If they want to go higher than that, I'd be uncomfortable because of that exodus issue.
I'll be voting against it. I'd rather see it at 50. I think we're aligned in our reasoning for it, but I don't want to see, I'm a little nervous about that scenario of a small group of people being able to dictate the meeting, and it's a possibility it could happen. And yeah, it'd be a lesson learned, and then people would maybe be motivated to show up to town meeting, but I think if we did it at 50, we should still get enough people to show up and conduct town business, and we can avoid that situation of very small, 5 or 10 people controlling the whole meeting. So I'll be voting against it, but I still agree in principle with what we're trying to do.
I think another aspect is, when was the last time town meeting started on time? John was a massive, I'm talking about some tough shoes to fill, but I mean, even in, I think it was last year, we didn't get rolling until 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Because I had to be, I was the spokesman because John was, we had a technical glitch with John's turn. So I remember that was like an hour.
Yep.
I kept wanting to say, forget it, let's go home, but these guys, here, kept saying, no.
No, I just mean, it's the tough part about waiting 45 minutes, okay, we'll give it 10 more minutes, we'll give it 5 more minutes. It'd be nice to have a meeting that starts at 7 and get it going right here in an hour and a half.
And again, nothing about these conversations or decisions prevents 9,800 people, 9,800 more people from showing up if they're so inclined. So, is there any other discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair, I hate to do this, but talking about technical glitches, I'm worried we're in violation of the open meeting law right now because we're not online. We're going to make 2 votes now that no one can see. So, I'm not seeing.
I don't think we have to be on.
We do, because we're not letting people in. So.
No, we are letting people in. The building is open.
Been open since last Monday.
Yeah, the buildings are open.
No, but you're still limited to 10 people.
They're online.
I'm not seeing it. And people are asking me about it. Is that shrug, like, you don't understand what I'm saying, or you don't understand what's going on?
The laptop shows that you are online on YouTube on the process. That's all I can do.
Well, utilize it based on that.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to go forward with the meeting and calling the vote. Go on. I understand your concern.
No,
John.
it's up now. We have to start at 7.
Yep. Okay. Is there any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. So I'm sorry, Ed. Yeah. All right. I'm so used to unanimous that every once in a while you throw a curveball or somebody.
So at least we will start with the number 0.
On the,
It'll bring the people up.
we will start this year's town meeting with a quorum of 20.
Yes, yes.
And then when we get to that article, unless it's amended, it'll be 0.
Yes.
Thank you.
Terry, thank you very much for taking your time.
See you Monday.
See you Monday. Next item is a discussion on the Finance Committee proposed town budget. Michael? Were there any last-minute glitches with the Finance Committee and the proposed budget, or is it as we discussed it? So,
Mr. Chair, are we going out of order? I've got Hubcraft.
oh, I'm sorry. I jumped, right. I apologize. We have Rebecca Adams, the Hubcraft, 1R and 3R Green Street, a proposed marijuana cultivation facility, former Weetabix Company. Would you like to come forward and identify yourselves?
Is it okay if I take my mask off?
It's fine with me.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you. I was driving here and thinking, boy, I don't know if I can talk that long with the mask on.
Well, then put the mask back on.
Oh, great, thanks. Torture me. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the board, and residents of Clinton that are watching. My name is Rebecca Adams. As you mentioned, I'm here with my colleague Steve Chasen. We are compliance and regulatory cannabis consultants. We are the local representation for the Hubcraft, who are marijuana cultivator and product manufacturers. A little background on the two of us. We have successfully opened over 20 medicinal and recreational facilities in the state of Massachusetts. Our goal is to work with groups to make sure that they are always compliant, they maintain all regulations, and are fully following the state, but also the local municipality laws. And we're presenting this evening. I do apologize because I received late last night your guidance for marijuana companies. So we would have definitely submitted the introductory letter and submittal prior to this meeting. So our goal tonight is just to give you a really quick overview. Then I will submit all of the appropriate documents. And we've already requested to be in front of you again in 2 to 3 weeks so that you have time, obviously, to review the documents in our proposal. So the Hubcraft has already applied for a provisional license in the city of Fitchburg. They are currently starting construction. We helped them receive special permit in the city of Fitchburg. They have operated other facilities in other states, one in Nevada, as well as a 180,000 square foot greenhouse facility in Colorado. And they are a minority-owned business. The CEO, his name is Howard Tanyu. He has surrounded himself with local professionals in the cannabis industry, some of whom have written regulations within different states. And obviously, due to COVID-19, our team could not be present because they are out of state. We do work with our clients from the beginning of, coming in front of a municipality, filing for special permit, through the whole process of working with the Cannabis Control Commission to make sure that they do receive their license, and even after that. So we really take ownership and pride in the relationships we have with clients so that you can be assured that you are going to receive a good neighbor in your town. They are going to work with the local police department, fire department, to make sure that, they are a good neighbor and they're providing the jobs that they say that they are going to provide to the community. So our proposed location, project location, is at 20 Cameron Street, the former Weetabix post-cereal manufacturing site. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with it. We have executed a lease agreement already, and to be a tenant, and to obviously renovate the building. So it's Building 1 and Building 3, which are actually, they consist of really just one contiguous building. However, they do have separate numbers. The Building 1 consists of 76,000 square feet, and Building 3 is 52,592 square feet. So part of the renovation in Building 3 would be to add a mezzanine level of another 50,000 square feet. And so total is 180,000 square feet. And so what will be in that building? It will be cultivation rooms, a commercial kitchen, an extraction lab to create products, offices and employee break rooms, as well as ancillary spaces. They are going to propose a cogen plant with, obviously working with the town and the landlord to provide additional power. So it would make 1 megawatt of power, which would include cooling to the facility. So the cogen plant would be located outside the facility, and we obviously have not worked yet with the town to plan out the logistics of that, but we will definitely make sure that we take the time to do that the right way. We are very cognizant that the Nashua River is right behind the facility, and so from a conservation standpoint, we don't want to make any waves and ruin any conservation that's in that area. We intend to employ roughly 150 employees, obviously giving preference to qualified individuals within the town of Clinton, as well as surrounding towns. They would work in shifts. We would be operating, hopefully with your approval, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Obviously, in the evening, the shifts would be a lot lighter. However, that's what we hope to propose. As I mentioned, I know you currently have some facilities in play here in the town, and so some of the differentiators that the Hubcraft brings to the table is that they really are invested in Massachusetts. I know one of the team members is planning on moving to, this area, whether it be Fitchburg or Clinton, I'm not exactly sure, so don't hold me to that, but, they really want to make products that they've made already in the past in other states that have been successful, and bring those to Massachusetts. And so, obviously, I know it's a lot of information, and again, I apologize. I definitely want to make sure you had that in front of you. We will make sure that we provide you the information ahead of time before we meet in 2 to 3 weeks. But we wanted to take the time to introduce ourselves, the company, and give you a kind of broad brush overview of what we'd like to propose, and also listen. Do you have any questions? Do you have any concerns, maybe about the location? I'm not sure, so we just wanted to be here.
Thank you. I think it's important that you get that information to us quickly, because we will have one new member, hopefully one new member, that will need to get re-educated, and most of us here have been through this process a couple of times, so
Sure.
as soon as you get it available, we'll get it dispersed to the people that need to see it.
Okay, thank you.
I
We will.
had one question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned Cameron Street. I believe the buildings you're talking about use it on Green Street.
I apologize, yes.
Okay.
It is on Green, I apologize, I said Cameron.
you.
Yes.
Thank you, John.
Cameron is the old where they made the cereal. That's not the building. You're talking
Correct.
right, yeah. You're
Yes.
talking over by Colonial Press.
Thank you, I apologize.
I'm
My
old.
question was, are you guys consultants representing the business owners, or are you the business owners themselves?
We are the consultants representing the business owners. And trust me, they would be here if they could be.
Sure.
You know, we worked very closely with them at the city of Fitchburg, and they flew out and were here for every single meeting. And unfortunately, just because of COVID, they really didn't want to get on that flight.
Sure.
Can't blame them for that.
Understood. Okay.
Well, just so I'm clear, going forward, are we going to be dealing with you or them?
You'll be dealing with us and them.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a differentiate, like, on certain things, or as available? How's that work? How do you get split things up?
Yeah, I think we're going to be kind of the boots on the ground here for the day-to-days. You know, they're obviously going to be spending more time out here as we progress through. We're not the decision makers. You know, the executive management team of the company are. But I think we're going to facilitate either meetings, discussions, on-site meetings if they fall when they're not in the state. But you know, they're going to be making the decisions on the Hubcraft, and you know, we're here to help. I guess is the best way to put it.
Because normally we are talking to the decision makers.
Right.
So,
But they've all had advocates represent them.
they were here, though.
Mostly attorneys.
Yeah, they were here. Yes.
Have they given any consideration to the name of the business we fix?
No. If you would like me to suggest that to them, I can. Typically,
Get the website
though...
first, Ed.
Yeah,
I think it's
typically
CCC will have some issues with
right.
that.
Get the URL.
Typically, the Cannabis Control Commission frowns upon things like that, but yes, yes. Yep,
Good name recognition.
I'll say.
Does anyone else have any questions?
No.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, not at all. Just thank you all for your time, and again, we apologize they couldn't be present, and we will definitely follow up, as you mentioned, as soon as possible with all of the information.
And it would be helpful if one of the proposed owners was here at the next meeting, which would be in 2 weeks if no one else has a problem, July 1st.
Well, just to manage expectations, can I get clarification, like if we have those environmental concerns, or would we have to sort all that stuff out before we get into the host agreement, or?
No.
Okay,
You can, that would be sort of as part of the permit process.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. All right. Now we can jump ahead to the Finance Committee proposed town. Well, setting the number on the quorum, that was the only outstanding, where's Michael? But I would like, just for the record, to have a vote affirming the warrant as presented.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we affirm the warrant as presented for town meeting on this coming month.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Now we can move. I've been anxious to get to this budget. Does anyone have any, I do want to touch base with Michael, just to make sure that there weren't any changes from our conversations with the Finance Committee, but does anyone else have any concerns?
No, I popped into the public hearing on Zoom, and it was, well, it was me. I was seeing attendees. And, yeah, I don't know if I have my notes from that, but it seems like it's what we talked about.
I scanned
And
it.
again, still up in the air, so.
Yep. Okay, then is there a motion to,
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the recommended fiscal year 2021 town budget from the Finance Committee, in addition to proposed 1/12th budget for consideration at town meeting.
I'll second that, yep.
any discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and now we need Michael.
Mike?
All right, I'm going to skip ahead from administrative business and go to old and new business. Any administrative business? Mike? Under old and new business, town buildings reopening update. Mike, do you want to update the board?
Sure, just to let the, or I could go back to the up front. Just so the board is aware, the Board of Health had indicated that based on the governor's guidelines, that town buildings could now start to reopen. So they indicated that the public would be accessible for the buildings as of this Monday, July 15th. So we have been open this week to the public. We have been open the whole time throughout the quarantine. All of our offices have been working here in the building. I know a lot of towns, they were working remotely at home, but we were working here in the building. And now, as of this week, we have opened up and the public has been coming in. Last week, we were open to the public for appointments, so if somebody had an issue that they needed to come see at an office, they were allowed to come in. This week, the doors have been unlocked and people are coming in as they need be. So that's with the town hall. I know with the senior center, they have more limitations because of the population they're serving. So they're doing as much as they can as to what the Board of Health is allowing. Right now, the Board of Health is only allowing them to do outdoor things, not allowing the seniors into the building. Their offices, again, they've been in their office, they've been working, but in terms of programming to allow seniors to come into their space, they're trying to do some small appointment-only lunches on the porch and some exercise activity outside, but they're doing as much as they can. On the library, I did speak with the library director yesterday. They're all working in their offices, but their board is meeting next week, so they're going to have discussions as to what their timeline would be for actually opening the doors to the public. They are doing curbside with books and servicing the public that way, but in terms of the public coming in to sit and lounge and review in their building, that they haven't gotten to that point yet. They're working with their state library board and the area libraries to see when other libraries are going to open, so they're not the only one, and people are kind of converging on them. And right now, their consortium has stopped delivery, so they only have a limited stock of books, but they are loaning out books, quarantining them. They're in their offices, they're doing virtual programmings, they are doing printing off, faxing and printing of things for people, and then servicing them outside of the building. So the Parks and Rec, again, they're in their offices working, trying to determine what their summer they're going to be allowed to do with youth programs and activities come this summer based on what the state is allowing. So, and of course, police, fire, DPW are doing their regular duties, and facilities all doing their regular duties. So, so I just want to say mostly thank you to the employees throughout this time for what they've been doing, and the ones I know, all of the employees and our first responders, but also the people here in the town hall. Again, I have not received any complaints in these last couple of months from the public that they weren't able to get help or get something that they needed. So everybody really came in, did what they had to, and worked hard, and hopefully everyone stayed healthy, and hopefully it'll stay that way, taking whatever precautions that we need to take. We have distributed masks and hand sanitizer and disinfectant to all the offices, trying to keep hoping that the public will kind of come in and be efficient on the way they do their work, their business, so they can kind of just come in and out and not have to spend too much time. So if anyone has any questions or concerns from the public or from the board, certainly let us know. But we are back. We've been in business, but now we're back in full operation right now. So,
anyone have any questions for the town administrator?
No, Mr. Chair, I just want to thank Michael and the Board of Health and the town employees and just encourage everyone. I know it's a very fluid situation still, and we're doing the best we can to stay on top of it. The numbers are going down in town, but that's because we're doing things right. So we have to keep doing things right, otherwise we're going to slide backward. So please, you know the drill, just wash your hands, wear a mask, and understand that when you come here, there's a balance between the service we have to provide for you and the people who work here. So please just continue to be patient, and we're doing the best we can. It's clearly marked downstairs, so if you need something, please come by. Just understand that there are people who have to work here, and we want to keep them safe too. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just want to share the sentiment of thanking everyone, the town administrator, the facility department, especially the Board of Health. I can't imagine the constant barrage of questions and guidance and information they have to go out and acquire. And all the town hall employees and town employees in general, the public safety employees, everyone's been doing an outstanding job as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, in the Board of Health, they were a part-time office with volunteer board members, and they, all became pretty full-time pretty quickly, and they are very overwhelmed with the contacts they've had, but they kept up with it and did what they could. So, thank you.
Okay, Mike, you might as well stay right there. West Ledge Streetlight Project, do you have an update for us, where we stand?
Yeah, well, what I was asking, I know in talking with the town council, there seems to be some vagueness on the legal research. So at this point, I would like just to be able to move forward to help out that neighborhood. National Grid is willing to put up the lights. We just need to do a testing of the infrastructure and any minor repairs that may be needed to clear that out. So I would like to move forward to get that done and get those lights up. And then if we need to do any further legal remedy beyond that, we can take it from there. But at this point, I don't want to have to lose another season here without them being able to get their construction of their lights up. So.
Do we have any sense or understanding of what kind of minor repairs might be necessary? Do we have an awareness that whatever they are, they're not of major consequence?
No, there wouldn't be major. I'd asked National Grid to at least take a quick look at it for me, and of course they didn't, give me any official scope or spec, but they said mostly it's just wanting to see the conduit lines blown out to make sure there's no debris in there. I think one base might have a bent bolt, so just need to repair that. But otherwise, the bases seem to be in good shape. And the conduit is all run by the contractor, so the National Grid would come and pull the wire and install the poles. They just want to make sure that the infrastructure is safe for the lights to go up there. So I think it's fairly minor. They would just have National Grid would just have one of their engineers come out, give us a list of work, and then once we got the work done, they just go and inspect it and then get their crew in to put up the lights. So.
Hypothetically, if there were some issue that was a couple of $1,000s that needed resolution, do we have a source of funding, either through the facility department, the civic fund even, or if it came to that? What I'd hope we could do tonight is authorize an expenditure if I wouldn't want to see a roadblock develop.
Right. I think what we could do right now, we have a streetlight line item, so we could just pay it out of that streetlight line item, and if we get to the point where we're running overage, we can do a year-end transfer to make up the difference, but it is a streetlight, I think, eligible expense for that account.
Okay, great. I would suggest that we authorize an expenditure of up to $10,000 if needed. Otherwise, with us meeting in summer session and going a month without a meeting, I'd hate to see the project get all jammed up over something.
Thank you. That would be great.
Handled. So,
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we authorize up to $10,000 to be spent on the West Ledge Streetlight project, the effort to make sure that the streetlights are ready for installation from National Grid.
thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you.
Independence Day fireworks event?
I think this is more mine.
Oh,
I think.
Right.
You maybe know, a representative from the fire department just reached out to me, was curious if we had any opinion or would care to have any opinion, because they're weighing, I think they're feeling a little isolated of like, should they do the fireworks, should they not do the fireworks in light of COVID and people grouping together. And I think they had just asked, I mean, we're not going to tell them what to do, but I think they were just curious, like, what our opinion was on that function. It's nothing that we need to make a decision on at this meeting, but I just indicated that I would put it on the agenda and we would talk about it and either come to consensus at this meeting or wait, give people a couple of weeks to kind of think about it and then come back at a future meeting.
well, I think, the opportunity to have the fireworks is going to come up pretty quickly after our next meeting.
First, right.
So I would like to, if the board was willing to have a conversation tonight.
Sure.
We're not making any decision about it. It's not our program. We don't decide. But I would certainly like to give the fire department, the firefighters, an indication of how we felt.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
And I'm personally very supportive of them going forward with the event if they believe they can do it in a proper, safe manner, consistent with whatever guidelines are in effect in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Our athletic facilities are open to organize athletic activities. We've had a couple of parades in town. I don't mean to be dismissive. We've had large groups of people in Central Park and on the streets protesting as they have every right to do. But I also think the fire department, if they wanted to put on that community event, I'm supportive of it. Anybody else?
I think a lot of families look forward to it.
I'm going to be the stick in the mud. I've been critical of the mass gatherings that have come up. In my opinion, I'll be fine if we have it, but in my opinion, it's just another excuse for people to congregate, not only congregate in the field. I'm not so worried about the field, it's open space, but you know how these things are. A lot of people in town around that area have gatherings and have cookouts, and I know it's not a popular thing to say, but in my mind, it's just the engineering. I just think numbers, more people getting together, higher risk, but I don't think overall it's not that big of a deal, but if I'm pressed for an opinion, I'm going to say that I'd be against it for this year.
Sean, Mike?
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I know I think we have to just remember there's a difference between people coming together to protest civil rights and the town organizing an event and signing off on it. I don't know what kind of liability we'd be in line for, but it's just different. So no, I don't see any other towns that are doing this. We just canceled a home day in September. I guess if there's a way that everyone was in their car, maybe I'd consider it. I don't know. I just don't see any other town doing these things, so I'm not sure what standard they would be for getting that many people together.
Well, I hate to be wishy-washy.
You're the decider.
You're the decision maker, Michael.
We're here all night.
We're just trying to give the fire department some sense of
input. I will tell you, the first thing I would say, I would be flabbergasted is if in 2 or 3 weeks the governor has loosened up restrictions to the point that they can give the fireworks. I will be very surprised. I suppose they could go ahead and do it. I'm sure the state police aren't going to come out and stop them. But I would be very surprised if things would be loosened up to that point. On the one hand, I believe that people should be free if they want to go up there and sit there and watch the fireworks. They should be free to do so. Hopefully they will wear masks and try to social distance as much as possible. But let's face it, it would be not very costly to do. On the other hand, not comfortable with a town-sanctioned event. Bringing people together. I'm just not comfortable with that. So I'm glad I don't have to vote, because I don't know which way I would vote.
Well, I would love,
I mean, if,
I don't know.
We've been going with the governor's recommendations, so I'll say that, if the governor's going to have it, let him have it, that's fine.
Oh, well, I would say that, if the governor
Loosens restrictions to the point, yes, that they can have the fireworks, then I would say, I ain't going.
I would make alternate plans for the 24th. I don't think they're going to be happening, so.
I would send them some money like I always do, but I never go, so I certainly would not go now.
unfortunately, what you just said, people will be making there's still going to be, especially on that hill, I know I'm going to have my barbecue, I know, and now, I mean, I'm watching it every single day, fireworks seems to be
It seems to be the thing.
an interesting topic nowadays on Facebook of all the things to talk about, but I can see if they're not being held, an awful lot of illegal fireworks going off. So, I'm not saying that Pardon me?
Illegal fireworks are gonna go off anyway.
Yes, but I would say substantially more will be.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
But anyway.
All right. Well, I think we're pretty clear of how we feel.
Yeah, if the governor says it's all right, and I don't think he will.
Right.
The only thing, I just want to respectfully disagree with Selectman Kerrigan on one thing. I don't really see the difference in my mind, mass gathering is a mass gathering, whether it's getting together in the town hall, which I was opposed to, but I know we're moving forward with it, but whether it's people protesting, gathering in the park, COVID doesn't care why you're getting together. So I understand these are difficult things, especially with people's rights to protest. I don't want to go down in that direction, but I just think it would behoove us as town officials to just think of things in that perspective, that we're not coming down on anyone for getting together, but I don't like thinking about, well, this is a special exception to get together, so that should be okay, and this one is not. It's any mass gatherings of people that are shoulder to shoulder for extended periods of time is not good and is bad for COVID transmissibility. So just in the future, I just hope everyone thinks of things in those terms, because this is it's not going away. I know we're moving into the new phases, but we still have to be diligent.
If you were at one of the protests and you're concerned that you might have contracted the disease, you can go on my Facebook page and find a link to local testing facilities.
That would be available to anyone that went to the fireworks demonstration if it's held as well.
I'm just with Mike on this one, like it's a town-sanctioned event.
Yeah, that would be my concern.
It puts us on the
also.
hook.
Yeah,
So let the governor put it on his hook.
Right. He's got a bigger hook.
we're always on the hook for something. In my opinion, it's time to move on and start living our lives safely, wisely. If you're uncomfortable and concerned with a gathering, don't go.
Well, but that's very glib and very nice. I knew I'd get upset sooner or later, and it's your honest opinion. But the concern isn't that you're going to go there and get sick. If you want to go there and get sick, hallelujah, good for you. But then you go spread it to 15 other people who didn't go.
No, I only spread it to the people that know that I went.
Well, I'm glad that you have such control over the viruses in the nation.
I have no control.
Nobody else has that amount of control, but you.
But everyone that knows me and comes in contact with me knows what my attitude is and what my exposure level is. So you have a choice. You don't have to associate with me. You don't have to be in this room with me.
Not everyone.
No, you don't. You make a choice to.
Today I do.
Well, you made a choice to.
And Selectman Conley, to be fair, we know who you are, but you might be out at the supermarket or Lowe's, and not everyone knows who you are or where you've been, and so, everyone, it's their job to, their own health and to stay, but it's just, I'm hung up on this too. I just think it's people should they have freedoms, but when you getting sick, it doesn't only affect you, it affects other people that you could be even unwillingly spreading the disease to. I just think people, I don't know, I just think you have to think about that more. I just don't think it's as easy as it's my right to gather or to do whatever I want. I mean, yeah, I guess it's your right to, I guess, but I don't know. I can't get through that it doesn't just affect you, it affects other people as well. So that's all.
Yeah, I mean, people go to the 4th of July fireworks, and somebody catches the virus, somebody my age who has to go to the hospital, endanger all those doctors, nurses, but hallelujah, they had a good time at the end, what do they care? I mean, I think it's a bad attitude. But I have...
Unfortunately, for you, it is my attitude, so.
That's true.
So would it be, just to...
I think it's pretty clear.
It sounds like if the governor says it's okay, then we're
Yeah.
endorsing it, I guess. That seems like that's what I'm gathering. Thank
Okay.
you.
Can we move on?
Can we move
Yep,
on
sorry.
from
Can see why they didn't want to make that decision by themselves.
Discover Clinton assistance for restaurant and bar openings?
Oh, I think that's me too, sorry. Is Phil? No, Phil's not here. It doesn't matter, I can speak to it. Discover Clinton and Phil Duffy we're working together to put together an event tentatively for June 30th. That's going to be a presentation to small business owners of bars and restaurants for guidance through the phases. I know right now Bill has been communicating with the Board of Health. There's either going to be representation from the Board of Health, or they're just going to give Phil all the information. And we're just going to break down, because a big question that's coming up, can bars, what do they have to do to be considered restaurants so they can get customers? So we're going to speak to that. We're going to speak to the process to go through to get extended outdoor seating capacity. Those are going to be the two big ones. Discover Clinton is going to talk about their small business assistance programs that they have. Mr. Duffy will also still has some money remaining in some of his small business assistance, so that'll be a portion of it. So it basically is just, the goal of it is to try to get one presentation out to everyone. We'd like to hold it at the town hall with social distancing, film it, put it on Zoom, and then have a video recording of the event so people can reference it. The goal of it is to try to have one presentation to all the small business owners, answer as many questions at once, so that Phil and the Board of Health aren't fielding, 95 separate phone calls from businesses, which, to be honest, they probably already have to a point, but hopefully if we can get this out there, it will lessen that and kind of set the message clearly for the future, just so there's less confusion for bars and restaurants moving through the phases. So that's all that is.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Next item is the Superintendent of Public Works landfill salary agreement.
Environmental assessment.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. I'm trying to get this thing over with. I can skip some stuff. Environmental assessment contract award to NSAFE Incorporated for 172 Sterling Street.
Just quickly, Mr. Chairman, this is for the consultant that's going to do the Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental analysis at the former Rock Festos property. The price is $74,900. So Mr. Duffy is asking for approval of the award to NSAFE Incorporated to do the work, but also asking for approval for the chairman to sign a grant contract with Mass Development, who's going to provide the funding for this. So Mass Development's awarded $76,000 for funding to get this done, hopefully covering any contingencies, and asking if the selectmen can sign that contract as well, too. So approving both agreements.
Can we do this in one, or do we have to do two? One motion, two? Two. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve a consultant contract with NSAFE Incorporated to perform an environmental assessment of the 172 Sterling Street property for the amount of $74,900.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the board chairman to enter into a grant agreement with Mass Development in the amount of $76,000 to provide funding for environmental analysis of 172 Sterling Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Superintendent of Public Works landfill salary agreement. Part of this is an annual thing that we do. Do you want to explain it to the board, or?
Sure, just quickly, Mr. Chair, this is the previous, in the past, when we started the landfill project, there was an agreement between the Selectmen and the Superintendent of Public Works to manage the landfill project. So there's a stipend that the superintendent would get each year to fund that extra work. And there's also a stipend that is paid if that project is able to generate funding for the general fund for the town. So there is a infrastructure capital fund, stabilization fund that we have that we're using money that project is generating. Obviously, the money that they make initially has to go to completing the project, but anything over and above, the town is getting benefit from that. So that is part of the agreement as well, too. So this is an annual, the agreement allows the selectmen each year to review that award, so it's an annual motion that we ask for the board to review and determine to give this money to award this money to the superintendent.
Does anyone have any questions?
No, Mr. Chair, we had talked in our budget subcommittee about maybe in the future streamlining this is part of the DPW superintendent draws salaries from several different projects, and if it's confusing for some of us, then maybe it's confusing to some voters. So we talked about maybe providing a little more transparency about that. It's nothing that is off. It's just it's accounting. So this is just another slice of that pie, but maybe for expediency's sake, and just to be clear to people, we can maybe move forward as we talked about that.
Right now, we're acting on the
Yep.
standard motion of continuing that agreement with the superintendent.
Did we, so we don't have a motion. Can I move that we do we have to set the salary and the bonus? Or just the bonus?
Accept the agreement.
We ratify the agreement.
Yeah, just to make the FY20 payments under the current agreement.
I move that we accept the agreement as written.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
The second part of this is, this agreement was originally drafted in 2012,
I believe, yeah.
and it's gotten old. The dynamic of the landfill closure has evolved over time, and initially, the first couple of years, it was generating a profit, but we had no mechanism to access it. So I would like to ask for authorization from the board to meet with town council, the town administrator, and the DPW superintendent to address those issues and come back to the board with a recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Committee reports.
Mr. Chair, before we go into committee reports, can I add something quickly under old and new business?
Anything you want, Ed.
Okay, just real quick, just for future reference, if we're making decisions where we think we require feedback from the Board of Health or any other board for that matter, I just recommend that we wait to get that feedback, because it may have something to do with the decision that we make. The only reason I'm saying that, I don't blame the Board of Health, I blame ourselves for not insisting on getting feedback from them, but after we decided on a location for the meeting, we did get some feedback from the Board of Health, and the guidelines that they provided did actually encourage meeting outside to the extent feasible. Now, my intention here isn't to beat a dead horse, but it's just to say that I only wish that we had insisted that we got this feedback earlier in the discussion, because it may have changed the decision that we made. So I just hope in the future, if we need feedback from different boards, that we wait to get the information that we want before we make a decision. That's all.
Thank you, Ed. Anyone else have anything under old and new business? Committee reports?
Mr. Chair, the Cable Committee is going to be meeting remotely tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Thank you. We do have, the last item on our agenda is an executive session, Article 3, Facilities Union negotiations.
Mr. Chairman,
But prior to that, I just want to say that when we enter executive session, we will not reconvene in open business. So prior to that, I just want to acknowledge that this evening is not Selectman Jacoinski's final contribution as a selectman, but it is his last formal meeting as a board member. And on behalf of the board, I don't know if you want to shake my hand.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Ed?
I wanted to personally...
I know. So are we going to jail?
Somebody's dead. But, Mike, I want to thank you for your wisdom, your contributions to the community, but your guidance for me personally. I'll now be, no, I won't be the oldest guy here, but I do appreciate all the interactions, whether we agreed or disagreed. I appreciate you being there and being a voice for us. So thank you.
I would just like to add, Mike, I enjoyed the times when you and Selectman Conley didn't agree. Those were my favorite, those were my favorite times on the board.
Well,
Mr. Chair.
go ahead.
Sorry, we'll pile it on. I actually have a different point of view because I ran against Mike 3 years ago. And when you're a stupid political newcomer, you tend to think that different is better, not thinking what happens if the guy I'm running against, we have to serve together. So there are many ways to handle that, and I'm so pleased that Mike handled it with nothing but class. He's always been available to answer a question or to tell a story. On a personal note, we've enjoyed some dinners at our state conference with my wife and his wife. And it's been a real pleasure to serve with him, both on this board and all the subcommittees we've worked on together. Simply put, this town is much better today because of his service. So I'm going to miss serving with him, but I hope I never lose his counsel, and certainly not his friendship. So thank you, please, thank you.
Well, I would just like to say that the other day, I was on my computer and I looked at my calendar and I said, oh, I should delete the Selectmen's meeting for after today. And so I did, and I went to the calendar, deleted it, and it asked me, should we delete all future events? And I said yes, and I felt a sort of a twinge, you know, because me and the Board of Selectmen have been, it's been a long journey. I've been on the board for 15 years, and some of you have heard this story. I'm very sorry that Charlie Moran has passed away before he could hear this, and I hope Harold Vanass is able to hear it. Many years ago, I think one of the reasons I became a member of the Board of Selectmen is many years ago when I was a kid, a 12-year-old kid, Charlie Moran's drugstore over on Mechanic Street was a hotbed of political discussion. The selectmen, members of the Board of Selectmen always used to come into Charlie's drugstore and they'd talk and debate and discuss and fight and never a quarrel with them. They'd come in one or two at a time, and Charlie would get them going. You know how Charlie is. And I used to go down to Charlie Moran's drugstore and sit there at the little round table that he had, because he sold Coca-Colas and drink Coca-Cola. And I used to particularly enjoy it when the members of the Board of Selectmen would come in and they'd be talking about it. And Mr. Robichaux would come in, Harold Robichaux, and Mr. Nolan. Jimmy Coyne, your Uncle Jimmy, would come in, Harold Vanass. And they always talked about what was going on in the town. And I was always struck by the fact that they were always very serious and very thoughtful. I admired these guys that were coming in, and I had this sort of worm's eye view of what was going on. And I think it contributed to many years later when some people in 1993 asked me to run. I think one of the reasons I said I would was because of my admiration for those people. And I hope I've lived up to their stature. I'm leaving now. I'm very sad to do so. I'm feeling sort of emotional about it, because in 1993 when I ran, one of the reasons I ran is that people asked me to, but I thought we have got to get rid of the old fogies on this board. And now I'm 73 years old. I've reached the state of old fogydom. And I think I'm tired. 15 years is a long time. 9 years this time is a long time. It wears on you. I'm a little tired, and it's time to go. But looking back, one of the best lessons that I ever had was from one of those old fogies, Jimmy Coyne. Early on in my career, my first year on the Board of Selectmen, I don't even remember what we were debating, but Jimmy Coyne took a position that I found absurd and ridiculous, and I became agitated and said to him, "Well, Jimmy, I'll tell you what, it'd be nice if it was 1946, but let me tell you something, it ain't 1946. And Jimmy got mad, and we had this little tiff. The meeting ended, I was still fuming. I walked out that door to go home, and Jimmy was coming down the opposite end of the corridor, and our eyes met, and I was still mad, and he got this twinkle in his eye, he smiled, and then he started laughing. And he said, "Michael, they're going to love that on the TV. They'll be talking about that all over the town." And we had a little laugh about it, and it taught me, and I hope I've lived up to it, that, we have our discussion, we have our debates and our discussions when there is something that we feel strongly about. But all of the members of the boards that I have served with have been able to put that aside after the meeting, or shortly after the meeting, and not get into, and we have seen some boards, they really get into acrimonious debates based on personal feelings. I have never been on a board that happened, and I don't think that's completely a result of me. I think it's a result of the maturity and dedication of the people who I served with. And so I'm very appreciative of those people. I have noticed with the young people coming on board, I have an insight as how Jimmy Coyne and some of those older selectmen must have thought of me. Sometimes I roll my eyes and think, well, does this kid think he knows everything? So it's sort of a humorous thing. I admire Mr. Kerrigan and Mr. DeVault very much. I think they're both excellent selectmen. And I have confidence that going forward, they'll lead the town in a positive direction. And Mr. Chairman, I would like to say to you, did I remember when I ran this last time, 2011, everybody, who supported me said, "Oh, you were the big enemy, you knew that. We were big enemies." And I said to many of them, I said, Billy Conley was on the school committee last time I was on the Board of Selectmen, and we built, how many schools? Two. We built 2 schools and renovated the middle school. And we used to fight like crazy, but you know what? We got it all done and remained friends. I always liked Billy. So, and I continue to like Billy. And so I want to say to you, Mr. Chairman, that although I find your politics on the state and federal level and your position on COVID to be appalling, that I do appreciate your dedication to the town and your reasonableness and good feelings here on the Board of Selectmen. I've enjoyed working with you these past 9 years, as I enjoyed working with you on the school committee, and I would like to thank the voters for giving me this very great honor, because looking back on it, a part of me is still that little boy at Charlie Bourne's drugstore. And I admired these guys so much. And to think that for 15 years I got to sort of walk in their footsteps, it's very meaningful to me, and I want to thank the citizens of the town for having that faith and giving me that chance. And I want to bid you all a fond farewell, and let's go to executive session.
Thank you, Mike.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I just wanted to thank publicly Selectman Jagonski. You more than lived up to the honor of the office, and I thank you for the support you've given me and our office and staff throughout the years and the guidance as you were chair or even as a member calling. You've helped me tremendously, and I thank you so much for that. And I wish you good health and good luck in the future, and feel free to call anytime.
Yeah, and the town is lucky to have you, Michael. I'm glad that we hired you back 27 years ago, right? How long? 26?
Just 25, yeah.
25
and a half, yeah.
I'm glad we hired you. I was on the board that hired me.
Yes, you were. Thank you.
Yeah. The town's lucky to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Michael, thank you for your service, and thank you for your kind words. Like Ed, I think I enjoy the times that we disagreed more than the times that we agreed.
It's better for me.
Okay. The only other item on our agenda is an executive session under Article 3 to discuss the facilities union negotiations. This requires a roll call vote, and as I said earlier, we will not reconvene in open session. John? Aye. John? Chair votes aye. Michael?
Aye.
Ed? Aye. We will recess for a couple of minutes and then enter the executive session. Thank you.